Welcome back. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen testifying earlier today. She says the state of our economy is still recovering from the pandemic and we have a long road ahead of us. She also said that the challenge is the annual budget. It's still at the same amount of funding for 2010, at least when it comes to the Treasury Department. She's asking for more money to go after taxpayers, really to rein in tax cheats. Let's talk also about the Senate Republicans outlining their own $928 billion infrastructure proposal today. That's a counteroffer to President Biden's plan. That's about $1.7 trillion. Both sides want to negotiate a bipartisan compromise. The GOP offer would increase spending by $91 billion on roads and bridges, also $48 billion on water resources, $25 billion for airports, like real stuff, actual infrastructure. It would also provide for one-time increases in broadband investments and on rail. Now, tomorrow, President Biden is expected to unveil his new budget details. Could be anywhere between $6 and $4 trillion with all that stuff included in it. But there are some concerns about how to pay for it and what it is going to do to the inflation we're already seeing in this country. Check out this story from CNN, though. You may have noticed prices going up on everything, but according to CNN, an analysis by one of their guys, Matt Egan, that's evidence, they say, that Biden's economic plans are working. So inflation is real, and that's evidence that the president's plans are working. How exactly do we square this? Welcome in now our Money Huddle. Heather Zumarraga is here with us, president of Zuma Global. Also back with us, Seth Denson and America's accountant, Dan Geltrude. Great to have you all with us today.
Hey, John.
Good to be here.
All right, Heather, first to you. Janet Yellen says that she's not too concerned about the debt burden that we're having. She needs more money so that she can go after these tax cheats. Seems kind of like pie-in-the-sky stuff, Heather.
Yeah, right. When is it enough? It's never enough. That's the problem. It's not just how do we pay for it if there's a $6 trillion budget proposal on Friday, for example, but the problem with thinking this way, and without getting in the weeds, you can call it the modern monetary theory. Those that subscribe to it think that there's no limit to federal government spending and you can keep printing. And that's why you see massive prices going up across the board. And it's not just Bitcoin and investors looking for an alternative currency that has a finite amount, but your gas prices, your food and grocery bill at the stores going up, and that real estate boom. So I think there is a big problem. Inflation is not on its way. It's already here. And unfortunately, it's here to stay.
Yeah, Larry Summers, of all people, continues to sound the alarm, Seth, on the inflationary concerns. He's urging Washington to tap the brakes on all this stuff, and he told CoinDesk recently, I think policy is rather overdoing it. The sense of serenity and complacency being projected by the economic policymakers, Janet Yellen being one of them, is that all this is something that can be easily managed. It's misplaced. Now, she did indicate there are some concerns about inflation now, which means we should be very concerned about inflation, right?
If you think it's raining, go outside and look at the sky. There is inflation. It's here. I mean, lumber is up 300%. We're seeing this play out in our real estate market. People that go to build a house and then come to find out when it's time to close on the house just went up 30%. This is real. Meat is up 10%. Fuel is up 10%. What this means, John, is that the dollars that we have in our pocket are not going as far as they once did. And this is going to create a real problem. And this whole idea around this infrastructure package for Biden is that we're going to create jobs. We have 7 million jobs right now unfilled. So you're creating jobs, but yet we have some that are unfilled. It just doesn't make any sense.
And Dan, Janet Yellen again today talking about the fact that the Treasury Department needs more money. They haven't increased their funding since 2010. They're having trouble at the IRS collecting taxes from people. They're worried about tax cheats. But, she wants, and President Biden too, wants to go after anyone who makes, or any business that brings in more than $400,000 a year. Does that lead to increased tax revenue, or does that lead to more loopholes and more offshore accounts?
I'm actually not against, John, the IRS expanding their resources. The IRS has been, quite frankly, running thin and really unable to do their job effectively. So to me, there is nothing wrong with the fact that the IRS wants to collect all the money that it is due. Tax cheats shouldn't be something that we tolerate. At the same time, there becomes a very thin line when you take a very powerful arm of the United States federal government and make it even more powerful. And what I mean by that is they are talking about banks having to report not just income, but outflows of how money is being spent for certain individuals. I think we're starting to go into an area of profiling. So I don't know if anybody's going to complain about that for the rich, but it leads to potential abuse.
Yeah, and it's concerning. And also, wanted to talk to you, Dan, you told me about this a while ago, and we're seeing it again this year, a huge backlog of people expecting refunds from the IRS. They're delayed, still delayed, and people can't get answers on where their refunds are.
Those delays are being caused primarily of people who paper filed as opposed to e-filed their tax returns, and that goes to the point that the IRS simply does not have enough manpower. So the IRS does need help, and we should expand those resources. However, the question is, what do they do with those additional resources, John?
And then, the bigger question, Heather, too, is Democrats always like to say that, well, we'll just tax the rich to pay for all this stuff. They still say that, even though there's no way, there are not enough rich people to pay for all this stuff. What ultimately happens with those types of policies?
Right. John, I want to echo that instead of raising taxes, what you're talking about, bingo, that's what the Democrats are going to go for. The answer is, as crazy as it sounds, to what Dan was saying, expansion of the IRS's resources, those that are unethically or unlawfully not paying their taxes owed. Let's start with that instead of increasing taxes. I think that's a better proposal from the Republican side in terms of how to pay for it. And you can look at a lot of the COVID relief money and the $1.9 trillion has not been spent or is going to states that really don't need it right now. Let's steer some of that money that's already been appropriated towards funding some of this.
All right. Heather, Seth, Dan, great to see you all. The Money Huddle, another success.
Thanks,
Hopefully
John.
Everyone comes away from the Huddle team on 3. Everybody learns something. Great to see you guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks, John.
All right. That's going to